grandfather used to take me to visit the different burial ground and mounds because our people buried themselves in mounds in the woods of Oak Hill down in South Carolina. I thought that was absolutely normal. It wasn't until I left the woods and the farms where I grew up that I found people rejected ownership of being here before the slave ship. They thought that was a cop-out on being African, especially as the 60s went on. And so I would say little about it.
So the whole internet has been black internet, and the black spaces have been going crazy with the situation with the foundation of Black Americans versus Pan-African. And should we rock with Pan-Africanism? We know what Elder James Smalls came out and said, you know, about Tariq Nasheed. You know, it's caused a kind of controversy. He was on there with some Africans, and he was saying, you know, he was basically talking down on Tariq and basically saying Tariq is the cause of the division and all but so many words. And he says some things well understood. He said that we need to talk more, we need to do more things together and find out where this is coming from. But he said some things that was key, right? He said that at one point Tariq was pushing Pan-Africanism, but then he turned around, right, and went the other way. But I've been showing some receipts, and I got more receipts. Now, at one point, the elder was pushing Native American too. He was saying where his family come from. And he even said that when he came up to New York from the Carolinas, he never talked about it because everybody was pushing Pan-Africanism. So that's just what he ran with. I got proof. He talked about the mound building. He talked about his grandfather and how every year they went back and cleaned the mounds, and they knew where, because they buried above ground, not underground. He knew who they were. He knew who the Asians was that came in, those Austronesian people, right? The ones that's cosplaying now as the indigenous people. And then he knew who we were, right? He broke all this stuff down. Y'all don't believe me? Check this out.
I mean, there is a whole thing about. I mean, we know that yes, we were brought that the African slave trade existed, but there is some debate. Did it exist to the level they say it existed?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of us were already here. Think about what makes more sense. That yes, people that. Yet Africans were all over this planet Earth, or people that we like to call Africans, because I say we the original indigenous people of the planet Earth. Well, I don't even like to
we are the original indigenous people of the whole planet Earth, so there should never have been a discussion about our indigeneity in North America. My family, part of my family, look at me. I know where my graves are. I know when I'm talking about the graves of those who came before the slave ship, because we didn't bury underground. We buried above ground. Okay? And the mounds are all over Oak Hill. And we would go clean it every year. Our grandfather took us to clean them. And we would replace the instruments and tools and things on their graves. I didn't understand what that was about when I was a child, but we did it every year. That's something we did. They used to say these are Indians, but they weren't no Indians, okay? That was the language of the day that Papa and them were using. These were not Asiatics. But if you read LaRon Bennett's Shaping of Black America, he does it better than anyone looking at it. The book called Shaping of Black America by Dr. LaRon Bennett. He has a chapter in there called The Red and the Black. And he deals with the amalgamation of those who came off the slave ship and those who were already here. And white folks making the claim, well, look, the ones in the villages is as black as the ones we're bringing in. So let's raid those villages and put them all enslaved. There is no more separate indigenous population here because we amalgamated into one black population centuries ago. People need to stop the foolishness. I come out of one of the most recent walk out the bush black folks, because we didn't walk out the bush until the 70s, most of us. Down in Andrews, South Carolina, Santee, South Carolina, Conway, South Carolina. Some of our people still live in the bush and don't pay much attention to the damn government to the day. They call that the free wood. Sometimes they call it Burgess or Socrates. Part of it used to be called North Myrtle Beach. That's where my people come from. That's who I am, a bush Negro from the Freewood. All right. And we amalgamated with those who came off the boats, and we amalgamated with some of our Asiatic cousins. But this North America was a black civilization. Central South America was a black-skinned African civilization before the Asiatic crossed the Bering Straits, and they declared war on us too. And before the whites came on the ships, who declared the second phase of war on us. Okay?
So that was him on Lord Jamar's channel. And they were, they was going back and forth. They was getting it in, right? But let's go and let's listen to what Tariq Nasheed said after the disrespect that James Small said when he was on that African guy's channel, because he was insinuating that he might be a Fed. The Feds might have had came and got to him, and that might have been the reason why he changed, right? And I just wish that he didn't do that. Now he also said that he didn't feel as though Tariq Nasheed was showing him the respect that he deserved. Because remember, he's been with Tariq Nasheed every step of the way since the Hidden Color series. And all of the stuff that Tariq Nasheed teaches, the elder was teaching first. What I'm surmising now is Elder Smalls is upset because Tariq took the teachings and blew up with it. Tariq, because remember, way before there was an FBA, from all the early Hidden Colors, Elder Smalls was his teacher. Everything that Tariq is teaching, Elder Smalls was teaching outside of the Pan-Africanism. What Tariq did was drop the Pan-African and keep the teachings, right? Check. Let's listen to what Tariq.
Thing with James Small, I know a lot of people are talking about that. James Small, Professor James Small. A lot of people have been on his bumper because he was very, very disrespectful to the lineage, very disrespectful to me. And yeah, he said some little disrespectful stuff before, and I kind of let it slide. I didn't, I'm like, okay. He's in the new movie that we're working on, Hidden Color 6. And basically what it looks like, because James Small, he was one of the main people talking delineation language. All right. He was one of the first people talking that. He knows what it is. What it looks like, some of that African tour money might be drying up, because a lot of these he's a Pan-Africanist, and a lot of these cats, they make their little money with those African tours. I think he's going on one in December. They take people over there, so drying up. That's their little hustle, and that's up because people are delineating. So, and a lot of ops are in his ear. But the thing is, some people were like, well, yeah, some of the ops got to him. They like to manipulate the elders. My thing is, some of these ops, yeah, they're in your ear for a reason, because they know that you have a friendly ear to them. So I'm not going to put it just on the ops, because these same ops be hollering at a lot of different people. Why you listening to them? You understand? You listening to them because you might have to share the same ideology with them. You did. But with Professor Smalls, yeah, some of the disrespect that he's shown towards me and the family, I've helped Mr. Smalls for real, for real. Truth be told, nobody was really rocking with Professor Smalls until we put him in Hidden Colors, and he said this. Nobody was rocking with Professor Smalls, but let me say this for the record. I'm not rocking with Professor Smalls anymore. You are respectable, because you start kind of lying and saying no ain't true. I have no respect for you at this point. I've lost all respect for Professor Smalls. I don't rock with him. We're taking him out of the movie Hidden Color 6. He's not going to be in it. It's going to be a minute. We're re-editing that. We're taking him out. In fact, I'm going to replace him with about 3 people that I want. Yeah, I'm taking all the small stuff out.
Now, Tariq is upset and he feels betrayed and let down because he had a lot of love for Elder Smalls. Now, they had a conversation in the past because Elder Smalls has said some stuff before, and he had to come on to the show, and they talked on the show for a while. And I remember the elder was trying to explain himself. But then he goes back and he do this again. So now Tariq want to take him out of the movie. He want to take him out of the museum. He wants to cover his face. He wants to do all these things now because he feels betrayed. He feels hurt. But I want y'all to understand something. And the videos that I made, my previous videos where I show how Elder Smalls was taking a crap on Pan-Africanism and was basically saying we're the only group that practice it. This is where Tariq got it from. All Tariq did was scrap the Pan-African because Tariq was smart. He saw that Pan-African stuff wasn't working, and the elder himself told him that it wasn't working. So when Tariq take the blueprint and run with it, the elder started hating on him, right? But Elder Smalls, he wasn't finished with this Native American talk. He doubled down when he was on Sinetta TV.
I'm an African American whose family was here, half of my family, before the slave ship came in. We were not straight-haired, no red-skin. I may be a little red, yes, but the white-skinned people that we're calling the red-skinned people, who are Asiatics, they only got here 10,000 years or so ago. What? We've been here for at least the last 200,000 years, if not longer. And everybody in the world is admitting this now. This is not new news. It's only being exposed more now.
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Even the BBC is talking about it in documentaries. The History Channel is talking about it. National Geographic have done a whole piece on it. They've even went to some of the descendants in Argentina of the original black people who was in the hemisphere before the Mongolians came. Our history is important when we tell it, you know? And so when we think of this place called the United States of America, this is a new political phenomenon that's less than 300 years old. Whites coming here, that's a new phenomenon. The Africans here. Christopher Columbus wrote about the Ethiopians he met here. Ethiopian was the operative European word for black then, or the word Moors if you were referring to the Muslims. Verrazano wrote about the Ethiopians he met when he landed right here in New York and Staten Island. Christopher Columbus' brother wrote about it when he landed in South America. This is all documented history. And you don't see much American anthropology and archaeological work because everything they dig up is black. So it's kept very hidden here in America. I was a child. My grandfather used to take me to visit the different burial ground and mounds because our people buried themselves in mounds in the woods of Oak Hill down in South Carolina. I thought that was absolutely normal. It wasn't until I left the woods and the farms where I grew up that I found people rejected ownership of being here before the slave ship. They thought that was a cop-out, being African, especially as the 60s went on. And so I would say little about it. But anybody looking at my face can see who I am. The people called Indians is an Asiatic population, a Mongolian population, a Mongoloid population that came over here 10,000 years ago. The people who lived in those islands in the Caribbean and the people who lived on the mainland of North America and South America were African people.
What about the Aborigines I'm talking about?
Aborigines simply is a reference to being original to that space.
Right.
Those were African people. They came here from Africa like everybody else in the world. Okay? And so we were just Africans that got here earlier than those who came on the boat. Matter of fact, there's a young brother who wrote a book about Mexico, and he met some people. He's a Muslim brother. I'm just going to remember my brother's name. But he did this small piece on the history of Mexico, on the blacks and Mexicans. And there's two communities there, the ones who say we came before the boats and the ones who came on the boats.
So he basically was saying that he had this truth, but he would say little about it. He wouldn't talk about it, right? So he came when he ran with the Pan-African stuff, but he already knew who he was and where he came from. He already knew that we was indigenous to these lands, right? And I remember watching the episode when he was on Sinetta and he started talking this way and they shut him down real quick, right? He shut him down real quick. They were saying, well, you got to show DNA evidence and the DNA this and the, all this kind of stuff. And the elder went to speak, but they basically shut him down and wouldn't let him carry on, right? But again, he was one of the ones that created the blueprint for what foundational black Americans is teaching. I brought the receipts. He's mad. A lot of these Pan-Africans are mad because the jig is up and that bag is getting low. And they can't teach the FBA teaching and totally abandoned Pan-Africanism because they done wrote books. They done took all these trips back to Africa. Their whole stick is built now on Pan-Africanism. So to push a FBA lineage and push what the elder know is the truth and abandon Pan-Africanists will totally obliterate all the work that he's done for the last 60 years. And I don't think that he's willing to give that up. That's why he said when he came here from the Carolinas, he thought that way of life was the normal way of life. Then he came up to Harlem and he seen that they was doing something different. And he just got quiet and just let it go because he felt like people was ashamed of where they come from. So he ran with the Pan-African stick. But when he was growing up, he wasn't running with that Pan-African thing. Right now, what he teaches is everybody's African, but we came here first from there, and we came here, we are the true indigenous people to this land. The same way it would be if you went to Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, if you went to out there in Asia and all those lands, you see those indigenous peoples. So then we would be here with those afros, this brown skin like mine, right? These high cheekbones, all red, you know. Man, this thing is funny, man. This thing is funny. But he was one of the first ones crapping on Pan-Africanism. He was. So I just wanted to expose this, man, because there's a lot of things that hasn't been told to us that a lot of people suppress the truth, man. But y'all let me know what y'all think. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time, peace.